What's up guys, welcome back. This is anime fiction. You'll be watching What If Naruto Was Killed by an Anbu, Becoming a Hollow Part 27. Now, let's begin. Following a fulfilling meal with all attendees, including Hana, Naruto utilized the Senkaimon Gate to return to the Soul Society. As he exited, the aroma of crushed petals enveloped him, serving as a poignant reminder of the devastation they inflicted upon the picturesque landscape. Hana had activated the Senkaimon Gate in this location to ensure discretion. Naruto carefully selected a vibrant flower and positioned it behind Hana's ear, concluding our initial date at the same location where it commenced. How fitting! Hana expressed her disapproval with a click of her tongue. An occasion where the gentleman divides his time among 5 other women must be considered one of the least favorable dating experiences. Her witty comment elicited a laugh from him. When engaging with individuals outside her immediate circle, she adopted a composed, graceful, and compassionate demeanor. In his presence, she relinquished all facades and revealed her authentic self. "I can rectify the situation at this time. Could you please elaborate on your approach?" He offered his hand. "I would like to extend an invitation for you to visit my residence." Her inquisitiveness had guided him directly into his meticulously planned trap. Deceiving one of the oldest women in the world proved to be relatively straightforward. Hana displayed a slight roll of her eyes, appearing more entertained than irritated. "You possess a remarkable ability to articulate your thoughts." The reluctant compliment elicited a chuckle from him. "Could you please provide your response?" "Clearly not. You are unable to manage my competitive instincts." She had no intentions of becoming anyone's beloved. Her true loyalty resided with the 4-foot blade secured in the sheath behind her back. Even if she contemplated romance, she would not vie for the affections of the same man as Izan. That was an action she declined to undertake. Naruto faced a significant challenge in his pursuit of winning her affection. He smiled, remaining composed as if he did not acknowledge her sarcastic remark. He delicately placed his hand on her shoulder. "I find it challenging to manage your formidable instincts," he remarked, leaning in close to her ear and speaking in his most captivating tone. "I have the ability to refine them." His voice captivated her, leaving her motionless as if ensnared in an extraordinary dream. She required a brief period to collect herself before she was able to distance herself from him. "Please depart at this time. I will be back on Minazuki." He easily detected a tremor in her voice. His eyes shone with a restrained smile. The woman appeared somewhat fragile when confronted with his voice. He influenced her more than she revealed. He declined with a shake of his head. "What kind of gentleman would I be if I did not accompany a lady home at this hour?" "Naruto-san, there is no need for you to worry about my safety. I possess the capability to protect myself." "I recognize your capabilities," Naruto responded with a knowing smile. "I hold greater concern for any individual who may encounter you. I no longer take lives," Hana whispered, her voice tinged with a sense of regret. Regaining her composure, she turned to him, her lips forming a subtle smile. "Please ensure you get a good night's rest. I would like you to be fully energized for tomorrow morning." "Good night to you as well, Miss Yachiru." After Hana's departure, Naruto returned to his residence. He observed not just one, but 3 recognizable spiritual pressures situated within the confines of his residence. "We are pleased to welcome our inaugural guests, not visitors. Those are my spouses." As he approached the doorstep, the door opened automatically. Naruto opened the door fully, encountering Momo Hinamori directly. A single glance at him elicited a warm smile on her face. She approached and offered a gentle embrace. "Naruto, are you pleased to see me?" "Certainly. However, aren't you violating dorm regulations by being present here?" The students were prohibited from leaving the dormitory at this hour. Momo's arrival here clearly indicated her strong desire to see him. It was charming in its own right. Momo raised her gaze, gently shaking her head. "I obtained permission from dorm Granny." The dorm master readily permitted Momo to leave upon hearing Naruto's name. He was regarded as a legendary figure at the academy. No one wished to incur his displeasure by antagonizing Momo or those connected to him. Naruto tousled her hair with a gesture of fondness. "You successfully persuaded Rukia to accompany you. Well done." He had not encountered Rukia since that evening. However, he anticipated that her reactions would provide an entertaining spectacle. He would certainly pause before she felt any discomfort. Momo rested his head in his hand, appearing completely satisfied by the subtle closeness. "As someone with intense feelings, I find myself uncertain about whether to feel pleased or apprehensive regarding your capacity to manage individuals like me." Momo chuckled quietly. I had to persuade Rukia to accompany me. She appeared quite embarrassed at the prospect of seeing you. I've never witnessed anyone display such a deep blush. Naruto-kun. I believe, Naruto. Momo. Yoruichi called out from the upper level. Please arrive promptly. He gently stroked Momo's head. Yor is displaying signs of impatience. The decision to use Yoruichi's nickname was appropriate, as neither Momo nor Rukia were familiar with Yoruichi's original form. Their awareness of Yoruichi was contingent upon her discretion. Excuse me. Shortly thereafter, the bed was occupied by all three women. Yoruichi reclining comfortably, Momo seated quietly at the edge, and Rukia observing Yoruichi attentively from her position beside Momo. The catgirl appeared unaware of the underlying tension emanating from the small girl with black hair, or perhaps she was indifferent to it. Yoruichi gestured dismissively, remaining in her current position without any inclination to change her stance. Kazu, please escort the guests to another room. I will be resting here. Her behavior exhibited an increased sense of entitlement, driven in part by a lack of motivation and in part by a desire to provoke the irritated Rukia. Her composed demeanor effectively achieved her objective, and quite impressively at that. Rukia's brows knitted together, indicating her growing animosity towards Yoruichi. Naruto, could you please clarify the identity of this lady and the reason she is giving you directives? Momo directed her attention towards Yoruichi's tail. Should we not inquire about that? What accounts for its realistic movement? While that is relevant, my inquiry takes precedence at this moment. Understood. Naruto observed his friends, each with differing priorities. What is the duration of your stay here? We have just arrived, Momo stated before directing her attention to Yoruichi. Rukia, this is I encountered her during our hot spring trip. I'm uncertain about their relationship. Momo would have established a connection between Yor and Yoruichi if it were not for the masculine voice of her cat form. Yoruichi's decision contradicted conventional wisdom in numerous ways. Rukia scoffed, her eyes fixed on him with intense disapproval. This residence features one bedroom, and she is currently occupying it. How difficult is it to deduce their relationship? Instead of jealousy, she experienced anger towards him for cheating on Momo. The frustration had infiltrated her tone, despite her earlier commitment to maintain composure. Momo looked at him, silently urging him to resolve the ongoing conflict. Rukia, we should proceed to the living room. Rukia turned to Momo, her expression one of surprise. He is involved in an extramarital relationship with this woman. I find myself more upset about this situation than you seem to be. It is due to your appreciation for me, Naruto stated with a smile. Additionally, Yor is my intended partner. It would be beneficial for all parties to foster a harmonious relationship. Yoruichi, who had previously displayed a lack of interest, promptly sat up with urgency. At what point did I consent to become your wife? Naruto let out a soft chuckle. Yor exhibits a reserved demeanor. Shy, you say? Yoruichi retorted, giving a gentle kick to the back of Momo's head. I am Yoruichi. The black cat represents my alternate transformation. This is my true form, as I was originally born. To emphasize her argument, Yoruichi leapt into the air and transformed into her feline form with a pronounced poof. As you can see, I am Yoruichi. Surprised, Momo and Rukia shared a brief look before gently pinching each other's cheeks. We are not dreaming, Rukia whispered. The black cat was not an elderly gentleman, but rather a lady, and a strikingly beautiful one at that. Indeed, Momo acknowledged. You're Yoruichi, we ought to have made the connections. Yoruichi found it difficult to suppress her amusement at the scene before her. It would have been beneficial for you to consider the question, why would a person like Naruto, known for his less than admirable traits, choose to keep an elderly cat? This inquiry could have led you to the answer much sooner. Momo's eyes expanded in surprise. I believed you were his mentor. That is why you hold significance for him. The misunderstanding hindered her ability to contemplate the insights of the articulate feline. I provided him with some basic instruction. Regardless, I wish you all a pleasant evening. I will be resting in the living room. With a sense of ease, she gracefully exited the room after getting off the bed. Rukia gently massaged the back of her head. She had numerous thoughts weighing on her mind but evidently did not possess the confidence to express them. Momo stood up suddenly and pointed her finger directly at the door. I am currently experiencing a sensation of thirst. She promptly left the room before anyone had the chance to speak. Naruto understood that she had orchestrated this to provide him with some private time with Rukia. Momo's invitation to Rukia for a threesome was not a spontaneous decision. She had meticulously planned to integrate Rukia into her relationship with him. Rukia, appearing uncertain, took a deep breath and confronted him. His composed demeanor helped her heart to steady, providing her with an opportunity to regain essential composure. Naruto, could you please share your impressions of your first day here? Quite satisfactory, indeed. He chose a straightforward response designed to help her feel more at ease in his presence. I understand. I apologize for my earlier skepticism. She paused as she noticed him approaching and taking a seat beside her. Excuse me. You are standing a bit too close. Is this close? Indeed. She shifted slightly, attempting to create distance, but before she could fully disengage, an arm encircled her waist, securing her position. Please refrain from exploiting my goodwill. Rukia's words immediately came to a halt in the following moment. Their eyes met, and he delicately held her chin, leaning in gradually. Her gaze was fixed on his lips, her own trembling as if remembering their intense night within her dorm room. This individual exhibits erratic behavior. She had the ability to assert herself and conclude the situation that existed between them. Alternatively, she might have the opportunity to relive that remarkable moment while also experiencing his warmth concurrently. Rukia encountered a significant decision, one that could potentially alter her future for better or for worse. As her heartbeat increased, time appeared to decelerate around her. She sensed his lips poised a mere breath from hers, enticing her towards what could be the most ill-advised decision of her life. He was the first to do it. It is not my responsibility. She cast a brief look at the closed door from the corner of her eyes. Feeling a sense of relief that no one would enter without knocking, she closed her eyes and gently tilted her head. The lips she desired gently brushed against her cheek. Rukia, the task is complete. You may now open your eyes. With a focused gaze, she met his eyes, coming to the realization that she had been misled into an awkward predicament. Could you please explain your reasoning behind that action? What actions did I take? You are fully aware of your actions. He blinked at her accusations, presenting himself as a genuinely innocent individual, a stark contrast to his actual character. I am not entirely clear on the subject you are referring to. Was he exhibiting unkind behavior towards her? A small amount. The minimal teasing was insignificant in comparison to his enjoyment. Furthermore, he was guiding her to cultivate greater sincerity with both herself and him. He encouraged her to take a more proactive approach regarding her desires. Rukia tightened her jaw, casting him a sharp sideways glance. His response remained equally indifferent as it had been previously. She removed his hand from her back and positioned herself on his lap. Rukia. She firmly grasped the collars of his kimono and leaned her full weight against him. If an individual of Haribel's caliber were to engage with him, he would likely have lost his balance. However, Rukia's petite figure was insufficient to compel him to yield to its weight. Naruto, I have strong negative feelings towards you. In contrast to her earlier assertion, she found herself unable to suppress her desires and pulled him nearer before engaging in a kiss. Despite her firm hold on his collar, she offered him a surprisingly gentle kiss. I seek additional opportunities. Please provide more. He placed his hands on her hips, smiling. All opportunities in this world are available to you, provided you are willing to invest the necessary effort. She responded to his suggestion without hesitation and promptly leaned in for another kiss. The instant their lips connected, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. Adrenaline surged within him. There were no subtle touches, exploratory gestures, or modest exchanges of affection. It was an intense display of enthusiasm. Her lips met his with intensity, and their tongues engaged in a passionate exploration of one another. Her unwelcoming kiss provided no chance for retreat. He had no desire to distance himself from her. As they shared an unrefined kiss, the door gradually opened, its creak barely audible. Engrossed in her moment, Rukia failed to notice her friend entering the room. She was unaware of Momo seated beside her, watching the two with a satisfied expression. After a brief moment, Rukia withdrew from the kiss to regain her breath. Strands of silver connected their lips as she confidently looked at him. The subtle flush on her cheeks and her glistening eyes conveyed an expression of deep admiration. She appeared to desire more but exercised restraint. To be honest, she would have engaged in a prolonged kiss with him if they found themselves stranded on an island. Naruto gently swept the bangs from her face and rested a hand against her cheek. Ru-chan, do you still hold any negative feelings towards me? She acknowledged with a nod. I have strong feelings of dislike towards you, yet I find enjoyment in kissing you. Do you also find our intimate moments unappealing? Her cheeks became even more flushed in response to his question. Not entirely. Momo expresses disdain towards me yet shows affection through kissing. How should I proceed? The mere mention of Momo caused Rukia to feel lightheaded. Naruto-kun must put in more effort to gain her affection. She almost lost consciousness upon hearing Momo's voice directly beside her. Rukia collapsed into Naruto's embrace, concealing her face as she grappled with the shame and embarrassment of having kissed her friend's partner. Furthermore, it was not merely a kiss, but rather one of the most profound and intimate kisses she had ever experienced. I am not present, I am not present. Momo emitted a gentle laugh in response to Rukia's unwise actions. Please refrain from that behavior. You are already aware that I have no objections to Naruto-kun's relationships. She appeared truly pleased for her friend, which was precisely what Naruto had anticipated from her. Regardless of her manipulations, her intentions for Rukia were genuine. Being with him was undoubtedly the best choice for Rukia, just as it was for her. Rukia gradually turned her head to face Momo, who wore an encouraging smile. Momo. It's perfectly fine. You can be entirely candid with him just as you were with me. He will not react negatively. To be candid, Naruto, I do not harbor any hatred towards you. He found himself amused by her charming little confession. I appreciate your understanding. I would like to express my feelings for you. Thank you for your appreciation. She gently restrained him by pinching his waist, preventing him from behaving in a frivolous manner. I must express my gratitude for everything. It is now official. We are in a relationship. Rukia gazed up at him, her eyes wide with surprise. That was not my intention. She continued to exhibit a degree of hesitation. Ultimately, she was an individual with numerous insecurities, many of which stemmed from her upbringing as an orphan in Rukongai. Oh, Rukia, it's important to understand that we cannot engage in a kiss without being in a dating relationship. Her eyes expanded even more. We cannot? Certainly, that is not feasible. She inclined her head, gently making contact with his chest and resting it there. Understood. I did not hear you. I mentioned that it's acceptable. I will grant you the opportunity to date me. He took hold of her shoulders, carefully guiding her backward before lightly tapping her forehead. His swift actions were scarcely perceived by her senses. The final outcome was a humorously delayed response. Her eyes glistened with tears as she covered her forehead and directed a fierce glare at him. Could you please explain why? You were becoming overly confident. She clenched her fist and struck his chest. Despite her diligent attempts, she hardly elicited a response from him. What are you composed of? Water, carbon, ammonia, lime, phosphorus, salt, saltpeter, sulfur, fluorine, iron, silicon, and approximately 15 additional elements. Momo, Rukia, you are both invited to stay over today. Let's enjoy a delightful evening together. However, he gently held Rukia's face and placed a soft kiss on her lips. The only subject we will address is yours. The following morning, Naruto was resting in bed, nestled between Rukia and Momo. He needed to rise, bathe, and depart for the. However, he felt somewhat hesitant to depart from the charming duo. They may be too fatigued to participate in the academy. He accepted some responsibility for their absence. Rukia, typically reserved regarding intimacy, transformed into a completely different individual when her desires were awakened. Momo was, Momo, characterized by unparalleled passion and love. The two exhibited significant energy and chemistry together. However, they were unable to match his inherent capacity for recovery. The outcome was an extended period of intimate connection. It is time to rise. Please hold on a moment. Is that? He detected the familiar ryotsu of an individual who typically would not be awake at this hour. She approached him at a measured pace, allowing him sufficient time to rise from bed and dress appropriately. Opening the window permitted sunlight to enter the room. The birds sang as they passed overhead, carrying with them the aroma of a new day. The scenery improved as the blonde woman approached his door along the pathway. The individual with blonde hair, previously styled short, is noted for having a prominent figure within the 10th squad. Rangaku Matsumoto. After trimming her hair to just below her lower waist, she resembled the image he had envisioned while watching the anime. The individual in question, aren't we also considered bimbos? Inquired Aurora with a sense of innocence. We are not. Kindly lower your voices, both of you. It is 6 o'clock in the morning, as you desire, my dear. As you desire, my dear father. Disapproving of their behavior, he descended from the window and met Rangaku at the door. Rangaku positioned her hand on her hip and offered a composed wave. There is enthusiasm to reconnect with my former self. Her smile exuded an unexpected vitality for an individual who had recently navigated a perilous situation. It is likely that she has become accustomed to high-stakes situations after her extensive experience as a vice captain. He let out a soft laugh. It is essential that we do not leave our patient unattended for an extended period. A patient? I believe I've already reached my peak performance. She flexed her biceps with a confident smile. Observe these eggs. Do you believe a patient would possess such items? Although she possessed formal training in swordsmanship and various combat techniques, her physique exhibited minimal muscle definition. Muscles do not necessarily signify good health, Naruto remarked, gesturing towards her breasts that were almost overflowing from her kimono. The only eggs present here are these. She playfully tapped her chest and erupted into laughter, her movements causing a noticeable reaction. They do not resemble egg shapes. Rather, they are more akin to inflated water balloons. Rangaku was accustomed to openly discussing the shape of her breasts. He knitted his brows together. I cannot provide a definitive assessment without first-hand observation. Good effort, my friend, she remarked, flipping her hair back with confidence. What are your thoughts on my hair? I made a conscious decision to present myself in a more relatable manner. It was important for me to avoid the constant attention. I appreciate that confidence. I could express a similar sentiment regarding you, she remarked with a playful smile, turning her attention to the window above him. Momo and Rukia together. I anticipated that those two would ultimately be with you. I do feel sympathy for Izan, however, she genuinely had feelings for you. This marked the first occasion on which Rangaku observed Izan displaying interest in a man. Her regret was compounded by the decision to adopt a passive approach rather than actively assisting Izan. If she had taken action earlier to connect him with Izan, she might have prevented him from forming relationships with Rukia and Momo. Naruto displayed a subtle smile, entirely unaware of Rangaku's feelings of regret. I shared my feelings with her yesterday. She is supportive of my relationship with Momo and others as well. She is truly a kind individual. Rangaku arched an eyebrow, displaying evident skepticism. I find it hard to believe. No, it appears you are indeed serious. What could Izan possibly be considering? She found it difficult to understand Izan's choice to be with him, considering he was already involved with Momo and Rukia. He extended his arms before releasing a prolonged yawn. I understand your perspective. However, Izan did not approach matters of the heart with a rational mindset. Rangaku exhaled deeply. I am unable to proceed if this is her final decision. Nevertheless, she was resolute in her intention to visit the fourth squad later to ensure that Izan was not making a rash decision. Naruto's eyes abruptly narrowed. Someone is stalking us. Even with his senses, Naruto was unable to locate the exact location of this stalker. Rangaku, on the other hand, was unaware. This stalker was quite proficient at their job. Rangaku, let us go inside. I'll offer you some tea. I would have preferred alcohol, but tea is good. I can't be very greedy. Naruto opened the door for her. Do you never get tired of alcohol? Booze equals love. Booze is life. Rangaku stepped inside and removed her sandals. Why don't I take you out for some today? A date with my vice captain. It breaks my heart to say no to that. Rangaku turned around to give him a disapproving glance. What's keeping you busy today? It's all about training. I can't slow down my progress because I beat those goofy-ass Arankars. Those goofy-ass Arankars nearly ended me. Rangaku shakes her head. I hope you don't reject me next time. I promise. Rangaku, wearing slippers, looked down the long corridor. It is bigger than it appears from the outside. Captain Unohana gave you an expensive place. She is the best. Rangaku looked at his smile and recognized her captain would need more than words to persuade Naruto to become his successor. At the same time, she recognized that the expenses were justified in order to secure the allegiance of a talent with his potential. It was almost hard to estimate his ceiling. He may even end up joining the royal guards and directly serving the Ryo. Why are all silver-haired brats geniuses? One had already been promoted to captain, and the other was expected to succeed her. She felt melancholy about working under Naruto in the future because he would constantly remind her of her lack of talent. 15 minutes later, Naruto set the tray down on the low table and sat down on the floor. Yoruichi, who was asleep, took up most of the living room. As a result, He had to use the other living room. Seriously, the house had half the rooms of his living world mansion, which was ludicrous for a home this size. Rangaku leaned in with closed eyelids, deeply inhaling the tea's aroma. This smells wonderful. Let's see whether it tastes half as nice as it smells. She scooped up the teacup with both hands, demonstrating more elegance and grace than Naruto imagined. She slowly brought the cup to her lips and took a little sip. Her eyes immediately brightened up, and she kept sipping. She set down the teacup with a final slurp to demonstrate her appreciation. Ha! It was divine. The best tea of my life. How did you make this? She just sensed his presence in the kitchen, thus she knew the tea was made by his hands alone. Oh, it is a secret. He chuckled. I'm glad you liked my first brew. Observing Unohana paid off hugely. With all of the same materials in the kitchen, he had no issue following his recollection and replicating the magic of Unohana's tea. First brew? Rangaku asked, almost tipping the table in surprise. You gotta be kidding me, I'm not. He shook his head and smiled. Let me simply say that I am skilled at observing and implementing knowledge. Captain Unohana is the one to laud. I've tried Captain Unohana's tea. It tastes excellent, but not as tasty as yours. She moved forward and grabbed his collars. Can I come here every day for tea? He scratched his cheeks. I understand it. Can we put this behind us and talk about why you came to my house? Rangaku returned to her seat and grinned. Can't I come to see my fellow Shinigami without an ulterior motive? Yes. Ouch, that went straight through my heart. Rangaku giggled before suddenly assuming a serious expression, the air surrounding her altering with her attitude. I looked for clues about my missing Zanpakuto spirit. Can you guess what I found? More missing Zanpakuto spirits? She lifted her eyebrows in amazement. How do you know? Why, you must be the mastermind of these incidents. Is this the part where you reveal that the tea was drugged, and I'll pass out and wake up in a dark basement? He directed a Ryatsu bullet at her face. It's not a murder mystery. Ahahaha. I saw a good one the other day. The Living World's theaters are fantastic. Why don't we go there someday? You can help me pick out some clothes, and we can even eat at a restaurant there. What you're describing is a date. No, it's called hanging out with friends. Besides, I'll cover all expenditures. You seem desperate. Okay. I will be your boyfriend. Rangaku narrowed her eyes and smiled. Good. Let's discuss the Zanpakuto spirits. So who else lost their spirit? Akaku Madarame, the vice captain of the 11th squad. Never heard of him. She gave out a gentle giggle. He produces some of the funniest expressions. When we were drinking in town yesterday, he mentioned his Zanpakuto's recent loss of voice. Then he blamed it on Hizukimaru, who was dissatisfied with him for not properly using its strength. Naruto nodded while listening to her. I heard that the guys from the 11th squad don't treat their Zanpakuto spirit with proper respect. Despite knowing Muramasa was responsible for Akaku's Zanpakuto spirit's absence, he seemed dubious in front of Rangaku. Otherwise, she becomes skeptical of him when he eventually foils Muramasa's plans. The drunken blonde was one of her colleagues' most astute observers. Rangaku nodded her head. Yeah, I'm not sure if Madarame has the same issue as myself. But it is suspicious nonetheless. I see. I'll check at your case when I'm free from training. Rangaku stood up and adjusted her kimono. The tea alone made the trip worthwhile. But I must leave immediately because the captain will bite my ear off. See you soon. After Rangaku left, Naruto stretched and went upstairs for a brief shower. As he returned to his bedroom, he heard scraping outside the window. Anyone with less acute hearing would have missed the noise. He picked up his Zanpakuto from the bedside and gently approached the window. Soifon clung to the wall like a spider, clutching the ceiling that dipped downward just above the window. As an assassin, she was taught to conceal her Ryatsu and seek cover in unexpected places. She never imagined she'd need her skills to hide from Naruto of all men. She could only blame herself for being impatient. The vital responsibility of watching Aizen had kept her busy, but she couldn't stand it any longer today. She needed to finish her business with Yoruichi as soon as possible or risk losing her wits. So, after leaving her underlings to keep an eye on Aizen, she went to Naruto's new residence to set a date for their confrontation. She arrived before Naruto went for his new work with the 4th squad, which led to her current situation. Tap, tap, tap. When she heard footsteps near to the window, she hurriedly held her breath. She didn't like Naruto much, but she admired his strength, which was his only redeemable trait in her opinion. Someone of his caliber would be alert enough to detect the slightest movement. He must be opening it for sunlight. Naruto opened the window and looked out, searching for something or someone. Huh? I swear, I heard something. Was that my imagination? Go. Soifan yelled into her head. Leave so I can speak with Yoruichi-sama. Naruto closed the window, allowing her to rest as much as she could given her situation. He is perceptive. She had never encountered somebody who was sharp as a sword yet dumb as a rock. Her old mistress had found an interesting person to educate. Depending on Naruto's next moves, she'd have to readjust. Of course, her original plan was to hide in the courtyard and wait for her opportunity. The appearance of Momo and Rukia piqued her interest. But before she could get a good look at the two, Rangaku arrived and ruined her intentions. Soifan seized the opportunity to spy on them. What she discovered baffled her. Swish! Naruto leaned out again as the window flipped open unexpectedly. This time, he didn't look down, but straight into her eyes. I haven't seen you in a long time. You look adorable in that, Barefeet Berry. Soifan was rarely seen outside of her shiakusho, and it was considered a miracle to capture her in a black-skin tight sleeveless blouse and matching tights. A black scarf draped across the lower half of her face, lending an enticing mystery to her appearance. He had to admit that she looked like a skilled assassin in her new outfit. Soifan glanced at him, with a tinge of astonishment on her features. I received a classified mission from Captain Commander. The tuk-tuk sound of footwear would have exposed my secret. I see. How did you discover me? He pointed to his own heart. You can control your breathing, but you can't control your pounding heart. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She opened her eyes again and smiled brightly. Huh. I got you the last time, but you didn't fall for it today. You appear to be progressing on a daily basis. Pat yourself on the back. Naruto gave her a blank expression because her acting was obviously phony. I'll get Yoruichi to do it. After you tell me why are you here? I just told you. He grabbed her ankle, dragged her off the wall, and hung her upside down. You are sneaking around my property. Speak out unless you want this to reach Captain Yamamoto. Her brow twisted in anger at his brazen threat. He was the only male who publicly threatened her, slapped her in the face, and beat her without repercussions. Naruto gazed down at the determined girl, who showed no indications of concern even when hung upside down. She had been in this situation before. Masochist Soifan, I don't have all day. She was on a spying expedition. Her target was not him, or he would have felt her gaze on him. Still, he needed to know who was on Yamamoto's radar, to stay informed about what's going on in the Soul Society. I need Soifan on my side. With Yunohana, Shunsui, Byakuya, and possibly Izan, he had enough of firepower. He's still behind Aizen in the field of information. The current leader of Onmitsukido, the Soul Society's eyes and ears, was a fiery lesbian. Her department's specialty were assassination, infiltration, and information collection. She could be a huge assistance in discovering Muramasa and protecting people close to him behind his back. You're encouraging her to join our side, by hanging her like a bat. She'll freak out if I start treating her normally. Nami giggled. I can imagine this occurring. Why don't you simply entice her with your voice? It is not mind control. He ended his talk with Nami and gazed at Soifan, who appeared to be ready to carry out her escape plan. Meanwhile, Soifan took advantage of Naruto's distraction by using her finest assets, quick reflexes and exceptional core strength. Gaining momentum with a rapid swing, she propelled her upper body and stretched out to grip the window frame. Using her newfound balance, she threw her free leg over his head and kicked him square in the biceps. The stinging pain of her abrupt heel caused him to flinch, and his grasp loosened for a brief instant. She immediately wrestled her ankle free. Her lips twisted into a triumphant smirk as she let go of the window frame and allowed her body to surrender to gravity. She had outwitted him and escaped his grasp. The satisfaction made her feel like she was on cloud nine. So easy. Victory was within her grasp, until she felt something stop her descent. As soon as she noticed Naruto's smirk, her enjoyment vanished. He had grabbed her wrists with greater speed than she could follow. Where do you think you're going, darling? The prospect of another defeat at his hands made her blood boil. I won't let you. With a fervent roar, she kicked the window with both legs, utilizing the energy to propel herself. Her legs tightened around his neck, pulling him down with her entire weight. Let go of me, now. Fine. He released her wrists and grabbed her buttocks, lifting her. He barely felt anything the last time she wrapped his thighs around him due to her loose clothing. The skin-tight garment made her powerful legs feel great around his neck. Death by SNU. Soy Fan squirmed. I'm sorry for everything. Please stop touching me there, only if you promise to stay and answer my questions. I promise. She had never been in a more uncomfortable situation, so she had to give in to him. Every breath that came out of his mouth touched her crotch, which made her more aware that she wasn't wearing any underwear on her lower body. Before letting go, Naruto gave her hard ass one last squeeze. Here you go, Soy. She held his face in her hands. Don't say my name. Whatever. She abruptly pulled his hair and made him look up at her. How am I going to get in here like this? Why do you want to come into my room? I can't answer your questions like this. Either let me in or meet me outside. He got out of her grip on his thighs and gently pushed her away. The angry assassin dropped from the first floor in slow motion, her eyes wide with shock at his betrayal. She was astonished, yet her landing was smooth and quiet, like she weighed less than a feather. She frowned and glanced up at him. Why did you do that? She didn't exactly go crazy over his little joke, though. Maybe the fact that he kept beating her made her more humble. He pointed to the door. Only guests can use the front door. She walked up to the door without making a sound. It's locked. Can I break it? No, come through the window. She clicked her tongue and jumped up. She jumped into the room from the window and pulled off her mask. Seeing Rukia and Momo almost naked on the bed almost made her fall. You. Naruto put a hand over her mouth and pulled her out of the room before she could bother Momo and Rukia. He led her to a different room and locked the door. You can talk now. She tightened her teeth and pointed at him. You are the worst for sleeping with them after Yoruichi-sama liked you. She deserves better than you. Better than me? Does that person have a name that starts with soy and ends with fawn? She stopped moving, like if she had been hit by lightning. No, I don't have any romantic feelings for Yoruichi-sama. Turning away from reality won't help. Everyone knows how much you love Yoruichi. I do not, Soy Fan yelled, her body shaking with rage. Why would I ask her to a deathmatch if I liked her? Deathmatch? You mean a fight to the death? He had no idea that Yoruichi and Soy Fan were going to fight to the death. But he knew this happened the day he found them in the hot spring. Yoruichi wants to keep me out of this. Soy Fan nodded her head slowly. It's a fight with a chance of death. I have to show Yoruichi-sama that she isn't as strong as she used to be. And I'm strong enough for. Strong enough for what? Did you mean to say something? Soy Fan waved her hand as if to say, no. Don't listen to what I said. She moved to the door and reached for the knob. Naruto grasped her hand and stood between her and the door. He won't let her go that easily. Soy Fan gave him a harsh glance. Don't push me too far. You may have won the fight, but I'm still your boss. You're making it hard for me to do my job. She tried to utilize her position to her advantage, but she knew that fighting him would only make her look bad. Naruto laughed and put his hand on her head, messing up her hair. You silly little thing. Do you think I don't know anything about you and Yoruichi? I know why you feel so angry. Soy Fan slapped his hand away and closed her mouth. She started to hate Yoruichi a little for revealing their past with someone who wasn't part of their group. It doesn't matter. I won't change my mind. I won't get in the way of your promised deathmatch. But since it's the most important battle of your life, shouldn't we make it a little more exciting? The way he smiled and the way his eyes shone made her feel uneasy. What stakes? But she didn't give up since she wasn't a coward like Yoruichi. Naruto put his arms across his chest. Yoruichi will give you what she promised you if she loses, and I'll stay away from her for 500 years. Soy Fan squinted her eyes. Betting on the end of the relationship shows once again that you aren't right for Yoruichi-sama. He only smiled a little when he saw that she was upset. Then beat Yoruichi and make me leave her side. If you lose, though, you'll have to work for me as an information agent for the next 5 years. You won't find a better deal anywhere. Partner. Don't cheat the kid who is 100 years old, Soy Fan said. I agree, without thinking about it for a second. I won't lose to an out-of-shape Yoruichi-sama. No way, I'd win and kick you out of her life. If Naruto hadn't already known the conclusion of the battle, he would have been amazed by how confident she was. In the main timeline, she lost against Yoruichi, who hadn't fought in 150 years. His Yoruichi had gotten ready for warfare by fighting a few times. More significantly, she had her own inner hollow to give her strength. Yoruichi would beat Soy Fan any day of the week. He nodded his head. Okay, when will this match take place? We don't know yet. Do it tomorrow. He moved away from the door. Yoruichi is in the living room. Tell her about the date, but don't say anything about our deal. Soifan's frown turned into a smile that lit up her face. She could chat to Yoruichi without any problems if he let her. She exited the room in a good mood. What if Yoruichi tossed the match? Partner, I have a couple things I can do to make sure she wins. If she loses again, I'll have to kill Soifan. There was no way he would allow a bet make him leave Yoruichi. He loved her too much for that to happen. Your partner's yandere level is going up. It's making me hot. Can I hit Izanami? Father? You'll be hitting yourself, you idiot. We have the same body. I'll slap you when I get my body back. When are you going to do that? I'll try it when Dad gets home. I don't want to let his enemies know I'm here with my Ryotsu. Oh my god, this girl is so nice. I hope she didn't hurt her father's best friend by putting him in a cage. Naruto spent a lot of time in the bath and even more time just wandering around the kitchen. He had to make breakfast for 5 people. Himself, Momo, Rukia, Yoruichi, and an uninvited guest. It was a fantastic time to get Soifan to like him. Naruto felt a chill run down his spine as he started to chop vegetables, so he quickly turned around to look. In the dark hallway, a pair of bright blue eyes followed him. He focused and saw a face he knew. Her pale blonde hair flowed across her face and framed her gorgeous blue eyes. What are you doing, Nami? The woman was actually his Zanpakuto spirit Izanami. The katana, which was her bodily form, was in the bedroom. She had gone back to her katana and then appeared in person to follow him around in the dark. Nami came out of her hiding place and into the light. I was just trying to see what it would be like to be a stereotypical stalker yandere. She had gotten overly fascinated with yandere, which may be beneficial or bad for his future. At least Aurora's presence made him feel safe about himself and the people he cared about. So, what did you learn from doing this? She responded, my gut feeling was right. It's boring to be here when I could just be over there flirting with you like a normal lover, and pointed at him with a smile. Or I could follow you around in your head. I don't care either way, he responded with a shrug. Please don't bother me right now. I'm busy. Nami quietly walked over to him and watched him, either on purpose or by accident, playing into her yandere fantasy. You're making ramen for breakfast. Do you want me to help? No, you're probably worse at this than I am. He could make something tasty with his quick hands and good memory. Nami, on the other hand, hardly ever showed up these days. You are right, Nami replied as she leaned on the counter. This is the first time I've seen you in the kitchen. What made you want to cook? I can't leave until Soifan does. Plus, no one else can do this. The only thing on his schedule for today was to try not to die at Yunohana's hands. He might put off his training to make sure Soifan didn't create a fight in his residence. She wasn't feeling her best right now, after all. Yoruichi has been saying harsh things lately, which could make Soifan pull out her shikai. Nami looked back. About that. I don't think Soifan will be leaving anytime soon. I'm going to kick her out after breakfast. She leaned in closer to him and murmured, as expected of my beloved, you love violence. When little Sue and I are apart, I want you to fuck me hard until I pass out. He looked at her with a blank look. Why not just pass out? His answer with no hesitation made her smile, which was dumb. He shook his mind and focused on making the best breakfast of his life. Please make some for me too, beloved, of course. My shunpo has gotten even better. You won't be able to beat me, Yoruichi-sama. Is that true? I'll show you tomorrow. Naruto opened the door to the living room and put 2 bowls on the low table between Soi and Yoruichi, breaking up their talk. They stopped talking and looked at him, as if they were waiting for him to say something. Come on, what are you waiting for? Dig in. As Yoruichi put her paws on the table and lapped the milk from her bowl, her golden eyes sparkled. It's not too hot. I like it. Soifan looked at the bowl instead. He had given her a bowl of ramen noodles with a boiled egg, vegetables, and a fragrant seasoning on top. Nami backed up the claim that it was probably some of the best ramen he had ever had. He lightly tapped Soifan on the back of the head. Stop dreaming. Before picking up the bowl and chopsticks, she gave him a piercing look. With a frown, she brought the noodles to her lips and slurped them down. Her eyes got big with amazement as the flavors melted in her lips. She closed her eyes and enjoyed the taste. Yoruichi looked at him out of the corner of her eye. From now on, you'll be in charge of breakfast. She only liked milk when she was a cat. She would require regular meals to work efficiently in her usual shape, partly to keep herself free and partly to torment him. Without taunting someone, her life just wasn't the same. No, Naruto said right away. Okay, we'll share the work. I'll do it for 3 days, and you do it for 4. No. She couldn't think of anything to say when he firmly said no. She turned to face him and set the dish down. Her golden eyes looked at him with a seriousness that was surprising for her. What ratio do you want? He raised 4 fingers, which made her frown in distaste. She showed off her sharp claws with a flick of her paw, but he stayed strong in the face of her menace. He was like a rock. Soifan was slurping ramen in the background and not paying much attention to the fight going on. Yoruichi finally turned away after a hard fight of resolve and conviction. Okay, but you better help me with the dishes or I'll poison us both. Huh? Why do you want to kill us both? Someone has to go with you to hell, Yoruichi replied, and her eyes sparkled with insight. The idea of poisoning you seems like a good way to keep you from doing anything else. I'll have to talk to Yunohana about a poison that could affect you. Stop her, partner. She is going above your yandere level. Naruto coughed. My love. I have a better idea. We'll help each other every day. It'll be more fun that way. Yoruichi thought about it for a bit before agreeing with him. As long as you act like a good kid. I'll do my best. No promises, though. Soifan immediately flung her empty bowl down on the table and ran out the door. Yoruichi and Naruto looked at each other in confusion, wondering what had happened for Soifan to depart so quickly. Didn't even say thank you for the great ramen. Really bad behavior for a father. Naruto gazed at the door and felt Soifan's Ryotsu quickly moving in one direction. Did she eat and run out of a friend's house? Look at me, not her, Yoruichi urged, earning his full attention. Soifan told me some things. About your fight? Yes, she couldn't beat the last boss. He smiled. Of course. I forgive you for not telling me before you asked. I never asked for it, she remarked with a frown. She said you'll see the fight tomorrow. Yes, someone needs to make sure that no one cheats and that the fight is as fair as possible. I won't. I can't promise that Soifan won't do something horrible after I kick her in the face. She can't win. It's just not possible. Confident. She licked the back of her hand. It's called confidence. You get it when you do well at something. Whistle, he continued. I'm sure of a few things. One of them is making you limp with my fingers. Without thinking, she raised her paw in protest, but then she put it down again. She turned her back on him and started licking the milk in her bowl. She had come to terms with the fact that there was no way to return back. She knew she was going to lose, and any attempt to fight back would just make her look bad. The best thing to do was to raise the white flag. Naruto laughed and scratched her head. Nice kitty. She made a clicking sound with her tongue. Get out of here. Okay. No need to be so angry. HMPH. Naruto patted Yoruichi some more and then went back to his room. There, he saw Momo sitting on the bed and massaging her eyes. Soifan's escape probably kept her from sleeping well. He couldn't say the same about Rukia, who was holding his pillow tightly. She would be gone for a few more hours. Naruto-kun, she said in a tired voice. Hello. Get up already. I made you breakfast. She was confused when she glanced at him till she saw the bowls in his hand. Oh, I'm sorry. What for? I'll take cooking classes, she exclaimed, raising her fist in excitement. I won't let you carry this weight forever. She seemed quite happy to be training to be his cook. Maybe because it would make him more dependent on her and make him love her more. A schemer for a schemer. You two make a great couple. What about us? Things between couples are only transitory. We are soulmates connected to the same fate, thus our bond will last forever. Naruto massaged Momo's head. Just don't go too far. I don't want you to get sick. I won't, Momo answered with a big smile. Then she rubbed Rukia's leg to try to rouse her up. Rukia, hurry up. The noodles will get soggy. Rukia pulled the blanket up over her head. Let me sleep. Momo's brow twitched in anger. You little. She pulled the blanket off of Rukia and sat on her back. She secured Rukia's arms behind her back. She then slowly pushed down, which made Rukia's back bend in a way that wasn't normal. Rukia let out a rough cry, as if she couldn't get enough air. Stop, it hurts. My shoulders, please stop. He didn't help Rukia, even though the bullying wasn't right. He merely stood by and watched. He had hurt his friend a lot more in his past life. Being friends meant toying with each other. He might still be sad about you. Let's hope he gets over it and has fun with his life. Momo kept up the pressure, even though her pal was screaming in pain. Are you going to get out of bed? I will. Momo let go of the submission hold and caressed Rukia's head. Hurry. Rukia flipped over and smelled. This demon isn't Momo. What did you do to my friend, Naruto? Naruto put his arms across his chest. She always was. You just now saw it. Rukia said in a low voice, it can't be. Momo. Were you just acting? Momo smiled sweetly. A smile that didn't show any feelings. Rukia, come here. I'll show you another hold. It will bend your legs and make them touch your shoulders. Rukia shivered at the thought of being in that position. She jumped right at Naruto and hid behind him. Naruto, you said you would be my boyfriend. Come on, help me fight this demon. She felt hurt by Momo's harsh surrender maneuver, even though it was overdone. Momo might have put too much stress on her. Naruto could see what Momo wanted by the look in her eyes. She had set up the whole thing to get Rukia to ask him for help. She was happy to play the bad guy to get them closer. Naruto waved his hand. Momo, that's enough. Okay, no more holds. Go practice your moves on someone who likes pain. Momo smiled with her eyes closed. Naruto nodded and looked back at Rukia. Don't you like pain? Well, I'm not. Why don't you fight back? Prove that you're the stronger woman in this triangle. Rukia's eyes went blank. Are you kidding me? Momo beat up a senior yesterday. I have no chance against her in a street fight. Excuses that are sad. They're not. Momo laughed. Let's talk about that after breakfast. Naruto left his residence after harassing Rukia for a little while longer. He didn't worry about the two of them because Yoruichi was there. It would be a great chance for them to learn more about Yoruichi. Not the wise, ancient cat they had been praising her as, but the real Yoruichi, who was confident, attentive, and a little goofy. He walked for a few minutes and got to the main barracks of the 4th squad. He couldn't feel Aizane's Ryotsu nearby, but it was deeper into the neighborhood. She hadn't reported to the squad yet, or she must have gone out on an errand. Based on her stale Ryotsu, he thought she could be asleep. He wanted to show up at her door without warning. Let's wait until after training. He walked into the open area, where a lot of nurses stopped to stare at him. People kept muttering things behind his back and asking each other what kind of relationship he had with their commander. The last time they saw him, he was hitchhiking a ride with Yunohana on Minazuki. He found the situation funny and walked up the stairs to Yunohana's office. He saw her lady kneeling in Seiza with her eyes closed. It looked like she was meditating or talking to her Zanpakuto, which was lying unsheathed on her lap. He tried to be as quiet as possible as he walked up to her and sat down in front of her. He was drawn to her right away. When she wasn't talking or trying to kill him, she was just so elegant. She was almost 2,000 years old, yet she looked like a woman in her mid-30s, which he thought was the most desirable age for a woman. People who made content in your past life urge you to think about that again. Fuck them. She opened her eyes. They just looked at one another for a few moments, one puzzled and the other calm. Good morning. Yunohana's face showed that she was troubled. Naruto. I can't talk to it. Minazuki isn't listening to me. Muramasa got Minazuki. It will be hard for you to deal with him. Naruto had a strong feeling that the revolt was getting closer because Muramasa's plot was moving so quickly. It was a rebellion in name only, and the real purpose was to make Yamamoto weaker by taking away his capacity to utilize his Zanpakuto. Now Aizen isn't playing around. Brother Sosuke had an extended break before going back to plotting. Suddenly, Yunohana put her blade to his throat. You don't seem surprised at all. He shoved her blade back without any thought, his face serious. Today I talked to Rangaku. The 11th Squad's Akaku Madarame might be going through the same thing. Madarame as well? Who do you think could be behind this? Try as she might, Yunohana just couldn't figure out anyone who could take someone's Zanpakuto spirit away. It was one of those things that went against the core principles of the Soul Society. If she didn't know him well, Naruto would definitely be her first suspect. His very existence challenged everything we thought we knew about Shinigami and Hollow. Her second suspect was definitely Aizen, a person she didn't know much about at all. Could be Aizen's secret weapon. His answer made her frown as she thought about what would happen to the Soul Society if everyone couldn't use their Zanpakuto. Most captains probably wouldn't stand a chance at their rank without their Shikai or Bankai. Only fighters like Kenpachi and Yoruichi could bring their A game, since their fighting style didn't depend on their Zanpakuto. If your doubts are on point, this could spell trouble for the Soul Society, she whispered, her expression serious. Do you think this ability will work on you? Your Zanpakuto is quite different from a typical Shinigami's. She didn't know much about his Zanpakuto, but she was aware that he had two different kinds. One for support and another that was all about offense when he was in his hollow form. She hadn't witnessed his hollow form in action, but she'd heard about it straight from Aizen himself. From those words, she couldn't help but feel a sense of curiosity about what his Zanpakuto could do. Naruto just shook his head. I don't think so. So, my Zanpakuto is. Nami. Where are you? Come on out. He tapped on his katana's guard, and suddenly, wisps of flames started to swirl out from its sheath. From those flames, Nami appeared. Hana was a bit taken aback to find his Zanpakuto spirit decked out in such fancy regal attire, which stood out against the traditional Japanese style that the Soul Society usually goes for. Nami smiled, lifting the edge of her dress and giving a little curtsy. I'm glad to meet you, Hana-sama. I'm Izanami no Makoto. Nami, for short. Nami's formal etiquette caught Hana off guard since she thought his Zanpakuto spirit would mirror his personality. Nami's behavior was completely free of any rudeness or playfulness. With a smile, Hana waved her hand. You don't have to be formal, Izanami-san. It's more about what we want than what we need. Nami plopped down on the floor, copying Hana's super formal Caesar style. Noticing Naruto's intense stare, she let out a loud cough to clear her throat. Partner, it's not cool to make people feel uncomfortable with your gaze. Uncomfortable, my ass, he grumbled quietly. Why are you role-playing as Soy Fawn when Yoruichi is around? You can't be serious. Do you have a crush on Retsu? Well, it's not like that. Hana-sama is my idol. Nami let out a laugh. Honestly, I've always looked up to her. Idol? Hana asked, looking a bit puzzled. What did I do to deserve your love? Since she put down her sword, she's been all about healing her people and even helping out some of her enemies she met along the journey. She never imagined that her work would earn the admiration of not just one, but two women, starting with Izan. Nami flashed a playful grin. Hana-sama is just everything I aspire to be. The ideal mix of kindness and a little bit of madness. She ties everything together with such amazing grace. How can I not admire her? Hana changed her mind. Nami was just as, if not more, eccentric than Naruto. What are you teaching your Zanpakuto spirit? He just shrugged. She's been infected since the beginning. Yeah, my wants aren't partner's fault, Nami said. He enjoys wildness, and I aim to be the wildest one around. It's that straightforward. Hana smiled, unable to hold it back. Looks like even your Zanpakuto spirit can't get enough of you. If I were you, I'd definitely be more cautious. When obsession goes too far, it can create dangerous situations for the person involved. One of these days, you might just find yourself waking up with a knife in your chest. She had heard way too many stories, tragedies. That didn't end well for either side. Even the strongest person can be vulnerable while they sleep, right? As she walked up to him, the thought of stabbing him repeatedly flashed through her mind, and she couldn't help but feel a rush of excitement. She quickly slapped her cheeks, shaking off the intense, bloody image. I wouldn't really mind if Retsu's sword got me. Hana stared at him, her expression blank, trying to figure out what she had done to make him act this way toward her. Not a thing. Not a thing at all. It wasn't her fault at all. He always had a bit of an unusual personality from the start. Nami couldn't help but laugh out loud. Partner, how can you say that without cracking a smile? Just say it with a little smile to seem even more offbeat. Nope. I'm not losing my mind. Are you sure? Sure, I mean, just because I like some wild folks doesn't mean I'm one of them, right? That's sort of true. Nami nodded slowly, as if she was having a light bulb moment. My partner is wise for his age. Hana rubbed her forehead, a look of concern crossing her face as she thought about putting the future of the Soul Society in his hands. I don't think this conversation is going to get us anywhere. He reached out and grabbed her hand. How about we ditch this and head over to my place? She brushed his hand aside. We've still got your training. Let's wrap this up quickly so I can chat with Captain Yamamoto about this Zanpakuto spirit vanishing thing. She needed to chat with Yamamoto about this issue and figure out who was behind it, or the entire Soul Society could end up losing their Zanpakuto spirits. He sighed. Looks like we'll be using Shunpo today. This will be a nice warm-up for. She suddenly glanced to her right, her sharp eyes appearing to look right through the wall. Captain Soy Fawn. She glanced at him, curiosity written all over her face. Did you do something to her? He seemed like he was about to let out a string of curses. Not much, just a couple of times I managed to beat her in the past. It just doesn't seem like she's here for that. Nami looked back and forth between the two of them before vanishing into the katana with a simple, goodbye. She didn't want to get involved in the drama that was about to unfold because of Soi Fan. Soi Fan rushed through the door, her forehead glistening with sweat. Naruto, it's time to wake up. The Captain Commander wants to see you. As Naruto headed over to the first squad's barracks, he just couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Yamamoto had a bunch of reasons to call him in, but honestly, none of them were good for him. Is he finally catching on to you? I don't think that's the case. If Yamamoto found out about Naruto's hollow side, he definitely wouldn't just send Soi Fan by herself, he'd come here himself. What if he did this to make you let your guard down? The old man isn't weak. From what he understood, Yamamoto didn't seem like the kind of person who would play mind games or plot anything sneaky. The old man took care of his affairs with the law. When the legal route didn't work out, Yamamoto decided to go old school and settle things with a good old fist fight. Maybe he's curious to learn more about Arrancars from me. He still hasn't answered any questions about the Arrancar invasion in Karakura town. It's pretty surprising, especially since he was right at the center of it all. That could be the case as well. Let's be careful, okay? Those words just don't fit someone who's trying to be wild. Nami chuckled. How about we say, don't back down if Yamamoto is looking for a fight. You'll smoke him and set the Soul Society on fire. Does that sound crazy enough for you? I'm in love. He stepped back from the strange chat and glanced to his left. Soi Fan zipped across the rooftops alongside him. They definitely weren't at their top shunpo speed yet. Even so, she wasn't working up a sweat at all. She's a beast when it comes to cardio. Picture someone with her stamina riding you. She'll be going for hours. Yoruichi's not going to let her fall behind. That's right. They both have great endurance. Naruto shot a Ryatsu bullet towards Soi Fan's face, but she managed to dodge it with a quick tilt of her head. Do you have any clue what Captain Commander is looking for from me? You'll see when we arrive. Let's go. You're kind of making me nervous. Yeah, right. Like I'm gonna buy that nonsense, Soi Fan said with a snort. It seems like there are folks out there whose main goal is to make others feel uneasy and unhappy. Ah, that's sweet. Wow, you're nice today. Hana observed the two with a serene look. Naruto, it's likely for something important. Even though she couldn't spot any signs of worry on his face, she could tell that getting a surprise call from Yamamoto had him feeling anxious, and honestly, who wouldn't be? His usual calmness had a rare crack, and it stirred up a strange feeling in her chest. She wanted to reassure him about his safety, letting him know that everything would be okay as long as she was around. Soi Fan made Hana rethink how she was handling her emotions, shifting her from acting on impulse. I'm here to help. What do you need assistance with today? After a few minutes, Naruto picked up on Yamamoto's strong Ryatsu. Yamamoto wasn't by himself. He could sense Jinrei's Ryatsu nearby. Not seeing any captain-level forces around made him feel a bit more at ease, like he wasn't stepping right into a trap. Soi Fan brought him into the assembly hall, where two older but quite spry men were deep in conversation. They stopped in their tracks, clearly taken aback when they spotted him, not at all expecting him to arrive with Soi Fan. It was a bit surprising how they reacted since, as Soi Fan mentioned, Yamamoto had called him in. This gave him some peace of mind, knowing that his hollow identity was still secure. Soi Fan, you are quite the liar. She flinched for a moment. Once she got herself together, she put on a distant look. Just hang in there for a bit. We'll clear up your confusion in just a moment. Sure thing. Naruto lifted his hand, grinning widely. Jinrei Oji-san. How's it going? The old man nodded back in response to his greeting, keeping his usual stoic look. Byakuya's grandfather was the kind of person who would rather die than act in a way that didn't reflect his aristocratic values. Yamamoto looked at Soi Fan with a cold, emotionless stare. Do you think he's the best candidate? He's the perfect support we need for this expedition. He can take care of the healing needs, and he won't hold me back like the others. With him around, I can be a bit more relaxed when it comes to scouting and gathering information. Soi Fan had a serious look on her face as she showered him with compliments, praising his abilities to the highest degree. She chose words that perfectly flattered one's ego. Naruto figured out her goal. She wanted to show Yamamoto and Jinrei that she trusted and respected him, and she aimed to do just enough to make him feel like she couldn't manage without him. Jinrei showed that they got it. I can vouch for Naruto-kun's shunpo. He's truly the best that this new generation brings to the table. I can vouch for his healing skills, Hana said, stepping forward and giving Soy Fan a steady look. Right now, he's the best we've got in my division. Could you share the details about the assignment and where it's going to happen? Naruto scratched the back of his head, pretending to look a bit embarrassed. Sure, let's chat about that. I haven't received any information from Soy Fan at all. It would be tough if I mess up since I was put on a mission that's way outside my comfort zone. He had to be careful not to stay away from the Soul Society for too long. Otherwise, Aizen could swoop in and take control using Muramas's power. He needed to choose his path wisely and steer clear of getting tied up in long-term missions. Soy Fan shot him a doubtful glance. You're able to adjust to whatever comes your way, just like you got used to the intense battles in Karakura town. You'll breeze through this assignment with no problem at all. Alright, I admit it, I was just trying to get out of that situation. I don't want to leave my girlfriend by herself for too long. Girlfriends? Soy Fan shot back. The operation should wrap up in about a week. It's not a big deal. Just 2 days. I'm not able to give more than that. Soy Fan couldn't help but widen her eyes at his confidence. Finishing it in 2 days isn't out of the question, but you'll need to skip some rest. Sure, that works for me. What's the goal here? Invading Hueco Mundo, Yamamoto said, his voice serious. The last invasion shook things up in the Soul Society. I'm worried that the Hollows have come together under a leader and are gearing up for a big attack. We need someone to go in, find out what their plans are, and safely bring that info back to us. The Captain Commander was feeling a little uneasy with the silence coming from the Arankars. The power that Arankars displayed might endanger the stability of the Soul Society. They needed to take the right steps to ensure they weren't caught off guard when they were most vulnerable. Naruto chuckled and gave Soy Fan a friendly slap on the back. Okay, I'm all set. Soy Fan gave him a look that said he must be out of his mind. Looks like we're heading into enemy territory. What's behind all that fearlessness? With your not-so-great stealth skills, it's pretty likely that the Arankars will find you. I've got to be there to help you out, you know? I'm pretty sure I can take down Arankars without a problem. The mighty king of Hollow is set to take down his own people. Why you? Soy Fan was close to cursing him out for his disrespect. Not everyone sees things the way you do. I'm confident in my skills. He softly rubbed her head. Oh, come on, silly girl, we're just dealing with Hollows here. Souls that have some animal-like qualities. They won't be easy to trick. This time, Soy Fan just went along with him. She had honed her stealth skills when it came to dealing with Shinigami. But she had never had the chance to see how her skills stacked up against an Arankar. Yunohana put a hand on his shoulder and glanced at Yamamoto. So, when are they leaving? Tomorrow, Yamamoto replied. When the sun starts to rise. Got it? Yamamoto focused on Naruto. Could you help me out by answering a few questions? Absolutely. Stay tuned for more. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this video. I'm thrilled you watched the video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe for even more exciting content coming your way soon.